Hello and welcome to this quick tutorial on using Microsoft Power Apps Flow, Excel, and Microsoft Forms to automate data collection through forms. To start, I have my Microsoft 365 account open on my browser and my Power Apps account open. Before I automate, I'm going to need to make my Excel file and my forms. So I'm just opening up a new Excel book and a new form. I'm going to start adding some questions to my form. I just want to show you the different kinds of questions you can use and how you can use these questions to keep your data clean. For these multiple choice questions, by giving the users options, we can limit the amount of different data inputs. Of course, with questions like, what is your position in the library? There might be others that I missed. So unfortunately, we do have to have another option. This next one I'm using to show that you can restrict variables to a number. So in this case, asking a question like, how many years have you worked at UVic? If you don't restrict that, people could write 2 years, they could use symbols, say less than 2 years. And then when you're analyzing your data, you end up having these characters that restrict you from doing quantitative analysis. For this next one, I'm using a date. This is really nice because, again, people can type in a date using all different kinds of formats. In this case, you're prompted with a calendar and you can input the date. The data will all be saved in the same format. In this last one, I'm showing another multiple choice, but this one is not going to have an other category. There's certain situations where you want your data to be restricted by a specific list of variables. Moving over to Excel, I'm just making a table where each of my questions from my form correspond to a header. In this case, I'm not using the whole question to describe the header, but just a couple words to summarize it. But of course, that's up to you. Now I'm making sure that I'm going to the Insert tab and creating a table. When we turn this all into a flow, the flow will be looking for a table specifically. Okay, now for the exciting part. We're going to go to Power Apps, select Flows, New Flow, and Automated Cloud Flow. Lucky for us, the one we want is the first option. We're going to select when a new response is submitted to a Microsoft form and hit Create. Now we're selecting our form ID, the name we gave our form previously, and we're adding a new step. We're still going to be working in the form for this step, so I just look up form to find it. And we're getting response details from the form. Same thing, collecting that form ID, and then getting the response ID and adding a new step. For this one, we're using Excel, and we want to add a row into a table. Took me a second to find it. Find the location. I just did this automatically for my form and Excel file, so it did save to my OneDrive. But you can also do this with Teams. You can have your file form in your Teams and your Excel file in your Teams, and that way everyone can access it easier. So I'm selecting the workbook I made, and here you can see it wants me to select a table. And then all of the headers from my table come up, and I just select the questions from the forms that I want to correspond to each column of my table. So our flow is done. I'm saving it. I want to test out my flow to make sure it works properly. There is a test button in the top right-hand corner. For some flows, this will do a test for you. In this case, it's just telling you to do it manually. I'm just going back and showing you what the flow page looks like after you've saved it. I'm going to go back to my form, and I want to fill it out. I'm clicking on collect responses. I like to do this short URL just because it looks nicer. Why not? Copy that, and that's what you can share with anyone who's going to be filling out the form. And I'm copying that into my browser, and here I am filling out the form. Here's the nice calendar. Now I'm going to go back to the Power Apps, and you can see now that, well, in a second, you can see now that it was successful, and I just want to go to my Excel workbook and check, and there it is. You can also use this just like any other Excel workbook, so if you make a mistake or you accidentally duplicate input or someone you didn't want to filled up the form, you can go ahead and delete that. And that's the end of my tutorial. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful.